our continued commitment to our tomorrow heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
Chris Duenas. Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, all of KUAM, and good morning, Guam.
So what's on your mind this Wednesday morning, Madam Speaker?
Well, we had our Committee on Rules meeting yesterday, so we've set our session agenda for January. That's probably number one on my mind right now, and preparing for that. We've got some important matters to be considered. And of course, on my mind is the increase COVID positivity rates. That's very concerning. And so those two are probably the biggest. Yeah. I don't know. Do you want me to start with the session? I'd like to talk about, we're going to put on the session. It looks like the war claims plan is going to be put on the session. And that way we will be able to, once and for all, smooth out this process. When we passed the law to allow a local war claims process, the legislature wanted to really make this a very efficient process, make it a priority of all the agencies to join together and get this done, and to hopefully find all the claimants, potential claimants out there. And so we did that. We passed that law and we put time frames in it. But the plan that we got back from the governor's office was not exactly consistent with our law. And there are two concerning matters for me, at least. The first one is this confidentiality of the claims that are filed. They took the federal claims form, and on the top of it, they put a huge disclaimer saying that anything that you put in this document is going to be subject to public disclosure. And this is the claims form where people talk about what happened to them, including rapes, other forms of abuse, and all of those tragedies. And I really prefer that type of disclosure be left to the claimants, that if they want to disclose what happened to them and tell their story, that they do that, but that we not force that on them just in order for them to make a claim. I think the federal government, they post decisions as to how much money was distributed in a claim, but they put numbers on those claims. They don't put names, so they keep some kind of confidentiality. And so that's what I'd like to do, is to keep the process open and transparent enough so we can account for all the money, and that the process is fair and equal. Yet when it comes to, our Manamco stories of what they went through, that it's really protected if we can protect their privacy regarding what happened to them. So that's one of the issues. The other one, of course, is the funding source. They sent back a bill that totally changed the funding source. And so we want to make sure we address that.
What is the funding source for this? And then how much money are we talking about?
So we had said, I think up to 10 million from Transfer Authority. And they came back with another bill that says 10 million from general funds. And then in the testimony from Mr. Byrne from Department of Administration, he says this might come from FY21 excess revenues, or it might come from FY22 revenues above current appropriations, and all of that was kind of fuzzy for us. So I'm hoping that the appropriation share is going to, he said he's going to put a substitute bill on the floor, and that hopefully to address those things.
Can you just correct me if I'm wrong, but did you have something in the budget bill where you were trying to earmark the excess revenues for tax refunds or something, or is
That's correct, yes. So what I did was in FY21, I didn't call them excess revenues. What I did in my amendment was increase the projection for FY21 revenue. And when I increased that by 20 million, I increased the set aside for tax refunds by 20 million. So that there's a balanced budget in the end. Now, Mr. Byrne told us we don't necessarily need to balance our budget, and we can appropriate 10 million without saying that we are going to bring in 10 million. And I just don't agree with that. Maybe technically that's possible, but I feel like we've done a very good job as a legislature in keeping our budgets, trying to keep the spending within what we project in revenue. And that if we start to go beyond that, we're just going back to those irresponsible budgets where we allow deficit spending.
So the war claims money is not going to mix in with the money that's set aside for tax refunds?
Well, we don't know yet. So right now, the current law says transfer authority, meaning they're going to find these funds and from from the current revenue projections and the current appropriations, they will find 10 million and they will put it over there. They did that before, and they also said they had no problem with this when they passed the law, right? When they signed the law, that was the funding source, and everybody agreed.
So there's no Section 30 funds that we're not using the Section 30 funds?
Well, Section 30 funds are, they go straight into the general fund. So they get mixed up, and it's possible some of the general fund, if we're going to use general fund appropriations, comes from Section 30. It's not specifically delineated.
Are you concerned at all with this coming from the general fund when we have all this ARP money, or could they use ARP for this? Or
I don't think they could use ARP for this at all. But this is why I say that we have to reserve our local funds for programs that cannot be covered by ARP. And we have no idea really whether 10 million is enough for the war claims or not. We don't know that yet. No one knows that. And so we're hoping, we're going to have enough money to cover that. That's local funds. That's why I say they should use ARP. What is eligible for ARP, they should use those funds for. But my only issue with using a different funding source and what we've put into our original law is that we're now saying that this increased revenue that we've received in the first couple months of the year, right, the fiscal year, October, November, that those are solid, and that for the rest of the year we can bank on that. And I'm not so sure. They were very against us trying to do that in past years, saying, we don't know yet how reliable this seeming excess revenue for 2022 is. And so we'd like to see that. We also asked for lots of things. We asked for a detailed explanation of FY21 projected excess revenues, right? And we haven't got that in writing either. So Senator
Brown brought up this point. I think it was something along the lines of, why are we paying for this ourselves? Did you have any thoughts on that? Because the whole intent of the war claims, right, is like, we were wronged by the Japanese. The United States forgave Japan for any and all wrongdoing. They off the hook, right? Japanese off the hook. So then Uncle Sam assumed the responsibility. We set up this whole commission, and then I think on the most recent go around, we used the Section 30 funds, which was kind of like Uncle Sam paying for it, since it comes from the federal employees on Guam, right? But now we're just going to use our own money and to be done with it, and we're okay with that?
Well, I don't think anyone's okay with that. That's not true justice, right? We're not getting reparation from the people who caused the harm, and then we're not getting reparation from those directly who waived the harm, right? And what we're getting is we're paying it out of money owed to Guam. That's what Congress decided to do, not the Guam legislature. They decided to do that. So I think, no, I agree with Senator Brown. That's not true justice. However, what Congress also did was cut off the claims period, right, in 1 year. And now we have additional claimants who might have been eligible under that program who just couldn't make a claim. And so what we are trying to do is just prevent an injustice on top of an injustice, right? So this small part that we can address locally, we are going to do that. That's to open that claims period, pay them out of the relatively same funding source, which is our local funds, and allow additional claims period. So I hope that we will be able to catch all of those who have not been able to file yet.
Madam Speaker, is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Because I know you got to go, and I did have one other issue to ask about.
Okay, yes. Well, we do have our session agenda set. There's several bills. There's a couple election bills that are on there that will change polling places and different things for the elections. We've got bills we've got the bill that relative to the size, weight, and load limitations of the vehicles. Remember that bill? That bill is on, and we've got a bill regarding the penalties for criminal sexual conduct. That's a bill that's on the agenda. We have, I'm trying to put a bill on that's going to be reported out shortly, the Chamorro Land Trust rules and regulations. This is to make these rules conform with the recent settlement and the recent change in the law.
Yeah.
So the Chamorro Land Trust finally lined those up, and we've got rules and regs ready to go. And this just keeps us in conformance with that settlement. Supposedly, the settlement was going to allow us to expand this program, right? More beneficiaries would be qualified or eligible. And so we're still hoping to do that. We've got bills regarding the EPA's funding and the EPA's headquarters. They want to use land up in Dedido that used to be like a transfer station, a solid waste transfer station. They want to use that for their headquarters, and they've got money if they're going to get federal money to clean it up. And so it's really, I'm hoping a win-win if they can clean it up and build their building, because no one else on Guam, it looks like, is going to be able to clean that up. It's a very expensive process to clean up that hazardous waste.
But I get it. That would be like poetic justice, right? If their new office was sitting on it. I got it. Speaker, is there any update? I actually had two, just really quick, on the adult use cannabis rules and regs. I know that's in you guys' court now, right? Has the clock started ticking on that? Did you guys forget about that? I'm just checking for my people.
No, I don't think that's been sent to us yet. Yes. So I think, no, you're
talking about
no, it's not been sent to the legislature yet.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay. And then Chamorro Land Trust, right? The ARP spend plan you guys submitted to the governor is very ambitious. I think there was about $25 million that you wanted to put for infrastructure improvements. We get this lady, she calls me at least 3 times a week. She doesn't have water. She's trying to get assistance from Sarah Thomas Netty Dog at OHAP, just because she doesn't have water and we're in a pandemic and yada yada. But what's the status on that? Has there been any conversation with Adelup about moving some of that ARP money to our Chamorro Land Trust?
Of course, we've talked to them about this when we laid out our plan, and everybody seemed to be in agreement with these types of goals, right? That it's not specifically or necessarily that it's only for CLTC properties, but where the CLT properties are these huge tracts of land, and adjacent to them are other residences and other businesses that, when we bring this water and utilities out there, particularly water and sewer for those properties above the aquifer, then we give the entire area the potential to, have businesses to have homes. And homes are very important right now. I think everyone will agree. I hope everyone will agree. And I take it back. Maybe I'm not so sure that everyone's really seeing this, but I am seeing it. And I think it's very clear to me. We have a huge proportion of our residents that are struggling to make rent, to find places to live. We have a homeless population that these are Chamorros unable to build a home, and we've got decades of families that have been separated from their family land and just really having a hard time making it. And these are the programs and we've got young people working hard, 2 jobs, both bringing in incomes, yet their families are unable to build a house or
Speaker,
and they're leaving Guam.
Woostig, Speaker, in Woostig, there was a house, nothing special, $600,000 in Woostig. Not Barragata Heights.
That's right. We started to see that several years ago when they started announcing the build-up. Prices went up. You can't get any house even in the middle of really not ideal areas, like for $400,000. That's, I don't know. The prices are very high. You're right. And I agree. And so it's very hard. So these young people, even the ones that working very hard, several jobs in the family, they're still having a hard time. And we see them leaving Guam. They think that they're going to go find another place where they can work the same and still build a house, right?
Texas. They're going to Texas is where they're going.
Yeah. And that's sad. We need our people here. We need their brains. We need, their skills. We need their determination and grit here. And I think we need to really focus on building our community up. And so I'm just hoping this ARP fund's going to go towards that. Yes, of course. And we had a unanimous agreement in the legislature about that. And it's one of my best days. Best days in legislature was the unanimous agreement from both sides of the aisle regarding, that we need infrastructure, and that it's been too long, and we've done nothing but a disservice without this infrastructure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your time this morning.
Thanks, and good luck to everybody today. Please stay safe. This testing site, by the way, I wanted to let you know. So in my discussions and research, we find that this monoclonal antibody Regeneron treatment, like the one I got when I got COVID, that's good for Delta, but it's not necessarily good for the Omicron, right?
Right, yeah. So we had Dr. Hull on yesterday. Madam Speaker, I hate to interrupt, but yeah, we covered this, and then he said that there's an issue with getting the treatment that works for Omicron because there's a backup and you have to get it direct from Uncle Sam, the feds.
That's correct. So when I met with the governor, we talked about this, and I asked, what is our status? And she says that we had 18 doses, but we had put in an order for 300 per month. And but I'm following up with public health as to how are they going to know which patients need which antibody treatment, right? Are we going to be telling the patients, now that we've got the machine, are we going to be telling the patients which variant of the virus they have?
We have the machine?
Not? Well, no, they're getting, remember, they're getting,
Yeah. Okay,
they're going to put the machine here. Apparently the results are going to be analyzed somewhere else. We're just going to print them out and send them somewhere to be analyzed, and then we get them back. But so my concern is, are we going to be letting patients know which one they have so that their doctors can treat them with the antibody that's, right for them? And how fast will that take place? Because this antibody is supposed to be effective if it's given very early on, onset of the virus. Right. So those questions, we haven't yet got answers. Yeah, it's very important, I think, for us to keep track of how, if we're going to get that shipment of antibodies to Guam, the rest of the nation is fighting over it. I mean, there's a shortage, right? But hopefully, the governor said she'd ordered 300, and she had a promise that we would receive that. So I'm very hopeful, and I'll be very grateful if that comes in. And I hope that public health, distributes it fairly, swiftly, and, supposed to go to those with great risk, and that we use when we bring in that genome sequence test lab, that we are able to give the patients and their doctors the information that might help them out to treat these people as well.
Correct. Yeah, and so I'm sure you saw the governor's address. Vaccine, booster, and the treatment. And when she mentioned the treatment, of course, the concern is, do we have the right treatment? Are we going to waste treatment on positives when they have Omicron? We're going to give them the Delta treatment and nothing's going to happen and we're down. So it's concerning. Speaker, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let's go ahead and get Minority Leader Senator Chris Duenas. Democrat, Republican, we got to put like a 5-second social distancing between them. Senator Duenas, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Alpha Day, Chris, Jason, and KUM family and the people of Guam. I guess this is going to be kind of boring. I agree with everything the speaker said.
Okay, so we're done here.